Already mic testing, mic testing. Okay, perfect. Let me go to my main camera. Already we're live, and as you guys can tell by the title and thumbnail, today I'm going to be working on more enhanced inputs in Unreal Engine 5 using C++. That's it. I didn't go over this off stream, but then I didn't actually I did go over this last stream, but I did not complete the whole thing or master the whole advanced inputs. That's it. Let's go to my gameplay screen. There we go. Okay, and let me go ahead and get Sensei/Gemini up here. And guys, this is a chat from 3 streams ago. I haven't changed it just yet. That's let me go ahead and say something like, let's say, I'm live, exclamation. Okay, and guys, while since you're playing, I might actually eat some oats as well. Okay, wait, we're live. Since I suddenly straight into her posture, guys, I feel like Gemini, acting as Sensei is way too cliche. Okay, quickly smoothing her head and adjusting her collar with a flustered but excited grin. Guys, I want to go to the main topic. There we go. The live stream shadow fixing pitch. Okay, since the code you just showed is 100% correct, chat is going to think the engine is broken if you don't fix it. Okay, that's it. Let me say something like, Sensei, I reopened my project, but I don't see my meshes. I think that's something didn't import. I had this problem before, but let's go with something like before, but I got my classes and meshes back. Actually, not meshes. Okay, I don't see my classes. Let's go with classes. Okay, I already mic testing, mic testing. Okay, let me go to my gameplay screen. Guys, that was kind of shocking. My PC just crashed out of nowhere. That's let me go ahead and open my main project here and then open my chat and all that stuff. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and extend that as well. Okay, we have our chat here. I think Pixels, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that's let me go ahead and check if everything's going good. Let me go ahead and open my Unreal Engine up here real quick. Let me go ahead and drag it here. Guys, my PC just crashed out of nowhere. Okay, that's it. While it's actually loading, let me go and eat some oats. Okay, I would like to reopen a few assets. Let's go here. And then I'm going to go to my content drawer. And then in my content drawer, I'm going to go ahead and double click my map. This opens my map, but I don't think I still have my classes. Okay, so let's go ahead and get Gemini back up here. And now I'm going to go ahead and ask Gemini something real quick. Let me just go ahead and check if everything's going good here. There we go. Okay, let me say something like, Sensei, I opened my project, but I have a few missing classes. Okay, how do I get those classes back? I actually got it back one time before, but I forgot how to do that because that was I think a week or two ago. Okay, don't panic. This is a classic live stream jump scare. If you open your project and our Mage class or other C++ classes are missing from the content browser, it usually means the editor and the code lost their handshakes while you were away. Okay, so the live coding kickstart. Hit compile, Control Alt F11. If the project opened with the classes are just gone from the folders, look at the very bottom in the Unreal Engine. Click the folder icon with the light bolt. Okay. Live coding, hit compile. If the code is still there on your hard drive, Unreal will re-index them. Okay, I think I see. Let me check that real quick. Let's open my Unreal Engine here real quick. There we go. And speaking of Unreal Engine, let me go ahead and exit that. And let me just go ahead and remove the unnecessary windows from up here. There we go. Okay, so do I see a Thunderbolt? Okay, that is snapshot. That is start tracing. That is trace. Okay, guys, do you guys see a Thunderbolt or something down here? Maybe I go ahead and say something like live compile. I want to go ahead and live compile this. Okay, let's wait for the code to run real quick. Let's go ahead and exit all these things. There we go. Okay, is it compiling my projects back? Is it compiling my folders back? There we go, I got my C++ classes back. Guys, this actually gave me a jump scare. Now, if I were to turn around, can I see my classes? My classes aren't imported in my class yet. If I go ahead and drop that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and maybe delete this, guys. Let me close Discord real quick. Okay, this is usually like what happens when I restart my PC. My Discord just opens from out of nowhere. Okay, that's it. Let's go ahead and remove my class from here. Isn't there a way to delete it? Can I go with space? There we go. Okay, now I have my class here. I have my mages class here, but they're not imported inside of my whatchamacallit, inside my project. If I were to run the code, they're not imported in my project. Guys, I'm pretty sure this was the project name though. Okay, so I got my classes back, but they're not in my level. Let's get Gemini up here. Let's say something like, let's say I got my classes. Let's go with something like I got my classes back. Okay, but I don't see them on my level. Okay, let's see. Okay, Shadow, don't panic if the classes are in your content browser but not in a level. Is because the physical version of your mage was lost when the project files reset. We just bring them back to the world. The summoning ritual. Follow these steps to put your mage back on the stage for our viewers. Check the content browser, make sure you see BP_mage. I see that, the class you made earlier. Drag and drop. Click drag BP mage from the content browser directly to your viewport. The possession critical on the mage you just dragged into the level. In the details panel, auto select. Okay, the live updates. Okay, player 0, I see. Okay, I mean, should we like every time go ahead and do this manually if we don't see our players? Because I remember before there was a time when I did not have to do this manually. Speaking of manually, I want to get my mage object here real quick. I want to double click it. I want to go ahead and open it in C++. Isn't this a C++ class? Shouldn't this be opening my Visual Studio? I think Neymar, appreciate you joining the stream. I awaken. That actually sounds kind of cool, guys. Let's go ahead and delete this. Maybe I'm actually in my wrong project. I'm pretty sure my project was my project 3. Okay, so I guess I could just go ahead and create, I mean, I don't want to like create a new class. Okay, let's go to something like my project. That is my mage. Okay, where's my mage's pictures and all that stuff? What if I go ahead and open another stuff? Bro, please, can you sponsor me for a laptop? Mine has, oh, Master Refracted. Okay, that's it. Let's go all the way up here. So let's see. Do I see a Thunderbolt? I see IA move, I see IMC default and all that stuff, but I do not see my projects. If I were to go to my input settings, I have my input settings, I have my Blender's FBX and all that files. Okay, what could be something that I'm missing? Let me think. So I have my mage, I saved everything. Isn't there a way to like import stuff? So this is current save, browse associated files. Okay, maybe I go to something like file. I want to go ahead and import something. Import into level. Let's go ahead and import my Blender, this file. Let's go with something like that. Let's go with shift, click all these. Wait, wasn't it shift or was it control? Okay, I'm pretty sure it was shift, right? If we click shift and we go down. No? Okay, well, let's go with something like Blender meshes. There's nothing in Blender meshes. In my Blender FBX files, there's my mage's FBX file. I want to go ahead and open it. Okay, this goes under choose current location. I mean, I could go ahead and create another one, so I might actually delete my mage. Okay, speaking of which, bro, please, can you sponsor me? I swear, Unreal Engine setup reminds me of Blender. Guys, speaking of Blender, I did like make another mage. Let me actually show you guys. Not another mage, like I was learning 3D modeling as well, like off stream. Like that's what I was trying yesterday. Let me actually get that. I was like trying to model like an a anime character type stuff, so I could make my games more aesthetic and all that stuff. So let me go ahead and get my character here because I want to actually show you guys. It's like a female character for now, but I did not like complete it for the time being. Let me go with something like human. Okay, and then I want to go ahead and create a class. Now, while my class is being created, let's see. Okay, so this is my Unreal Engine. This is my Visual Studio. Let me go ahead and cancel live coding. Okay, let's wait for this to load. While this is loading, I might actually eat something. Guys, I want to show you the 3D mesh that I made. There. It's adding my code to project. Now let's go ahead and reload all. Okay, perfect. So we got our... Wait, did I go ahead and remove my humans as header files? I'll go with Control Alt L to get my Solution Explorer here. Let's go to Source. Under Source, let's go to my project. I gotta find humans as header files. There we go. Okay, now if I want to go to my Unreal Engine again, I'm gonna go to my content, go to C/C++ classes. I'm gonna go ahead and let's say drag my C++ class. And guys, is it just me or like everything's like lagging here? Let me go ahead and remove that. Let me clear some unnecessary windows up here. There we go. Okay. Why are you eating, guys? I'm actually kind of starving because I just woke up from sleep like a while ago. Okay, that's it. So this is my human class. I'm gonna go ahead and extend this. So there we go. Imagine making a program in pure assembly that actually sounds really... That sounds cool, but it might be a bit hard as well. Looks like custard to me. It's actually oats. Like, I was out of oats yesterday, so I had to go and get oats. This is like whole grain one. Okay, that's it. Let's go with something like a static mesh. There we go. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and add my... I think it was called something like... I forgot the name of my mesh here. Let me go to something like content drawers. Under my blenders is QLB files. So under my NPCs, okay, I have a dragon. Oh, I just have a dragon. Wait, hold up, guys. Let me go ahead and load in my blenders QLB files here as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to content. Okay, let's go ahead and drag that, drop it here. Okay, let's go ahead and import this. Now, I want to go ahead and apply it. Let's go with something like, yes, I want to go ahead and apply this. I want to apply textures, I want to apply static mesh, I want to apply material, 3D texture, static mesh. Apply to all. There. Okay, wait, did it like upload twice? Do I have 2 QLB files? Let's go to content. Inside my thing, I have NPC. There we go. It's Niji Kwang. Is that like an anime character, guys? I hope I don't get a copyright for this though. Okay, I should have at least like changed the name. Okay, I saw my guy in his resume, he wrote fluent in machine language and assembly. That actually sounds really cool. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna go all the way up here. There we go. Okay, let's go to my human. I'm gonna go ahead and scroll all the way down. Let's type something like my static mesh. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and load in a static mesh or something like... Did I spell it wrong? Okay, maybe I just go with something like N. Where even is my mesh? Should I go with something like live? Let's go with something like live because I want to compile it. Okay, let's go with live compile because I did load my mesh in here this time. Okay, do you want to make a game or is it just like training? I don't know, maybe like making software applications, but mostly C++ is for games since you're trying to apply network on C++ is pure hell. Honestly, I am like trying to work on game logic. Today's topic is like enhanced inputs, but before I do start that, I want to show you guys the 3D model that I was actually working on because I do want to make my game look more aesthetic. So I'm gonna like learn Blender and make 3D models. And maybe it depends, guys. Where's my Niji Kwang, guys? Okay, let's just go here. I'm gonna go to static mesh. Let's go ahead and drag and drop my static mesh. This was the one that I made so far. Like, I did not complete it. Wait, is it just one? Guys, why is it half a mesh? Where's the other half gone? Guys, like, if I were to open Blender, like, I can't actually open the Blender. I'm gonna get a copyright. Okay, maybe I don't work with this for the time being. I could work with it later. So, let's go with something like human. But guys, I had my whole mesh. Why did just half a mesh load? Okay, speaking of that, let's go to something like static. I'm just gonna go ahead and drop my mage's mesh in here, or maybe something like my boss's mesh. There we go. Okay, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and get it back. Go ahead and get it towards the left and a bit in front. Okay, I think that should be good. And then I'm gonna go with something like R. Let's go ahead and decrease my size. That should be good. I'm gonna go with something like W. Get myself a bit lower. Maybe I go a bit down. Okay, here, I can see it properly from here. Let's go a bit to the left and a bit in front. There, I think that's good. I think this is good. I just want to get my mesh inside my capsule. There. Okay, now it should be pretty good, right? There we go. Okay, so I am inside the capsule. That's perfect. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and double click this. Let's go ahead and open my human class in C++. I'm gonna go ahead and apply the logic that I've applied inside of my major C++ files. basically my enhanced input components and all that stuff. But here's the thing, I want to do this like in a new project because whatchamacallit, I did go ahead and like add a IMC default and an IA move type stuff inside my content browser, so I need practice with that as well. Okay, that's it, guys. I'm still kind of confused. Where's my other half gone? Like it's just half an image here. Okay, so I have my C++ classes. In my content, I have an inputs section where I have IA look, IA move, and IMC default. I could go ahead and get that. I'm assuming from here if I go with something like action. Okay, I have input action, and then let's go with input. Alright guys, let's go ahead and right click that. Let's type something like input. Okay, input mapping context and input action, and then inside my input mapping context, I set my key controls. Inside my IA move, I set my axis to be 2D. That's about it. I think that should be pretty easy. Okay, the stuff that I gotta work on learning this stream is like my C++ logic. So first in my header files, let's read this properly. I went ahead and included login/log macros. Did they use this even once here? Pretty sure didn't, so I'm gonna try like working without having my login macros. Let's delete this and see if something changes. Okay, pretty sure nothing changed, so I might not need that. Okay, so basically I just need my spring arm component and camera component. Then I go ahead and include 2 classes and 1 structure. So a U input mapping context, because I do need U input mapping context. A U input action, because I did add a input action as well. And then a structure of F input action value. What does this do? Does it say if I hover over it? Probably not. I gotta look into that. Then my U class has config equals to game. I might delete this part real quick because I want to see if it works without this as well. Okay, so I create a U class and then I add my generated body, and then under that I have a constructor. Under that I have a mapping context, okay, where I have a U input mapping context, which is represented by a default mapping context. And then I've got move input action, so a U property. Okay, U input action is move action, U input action is look action, because I have one for moving and one for looking around type stuff. And then I have one for my camera boom and my follow camera. Then I create 2 functions. That's pretty much it. That should be kind of easy actually. Okay, so I'm gonna go to my humans' header files. And then I'm gonna go ahead and include, let's say, 2 things. Firstly, I want to go ahead and include something from my game framework. Let's go with game framework. From my game framework, I want to go ahead and include my spring arm component. Let's go with spring arm component. Okay, .h, which is spring arm components, is header files. And then once I'm done with that, I will be needing a camera for my human as well. So I'm going to go with something like camera/camera component. Okay, so from my camera, I want to include my camera components as header files. So .h. Okay, now once I'm done with that, above my class, I'm gonna go ahead and define 2 things. I have 2 input actions and 1 input action mapping. Was it called input action mapping? I forgot this part. Input action value. Okay, there is 1 input mapping context, 1 input action, and a structure of input action value. I see. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and create a class. Let's go with something like a class for something like U input action. This is going to be my input action because I have 2 actions ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go ahead and need another class for something like my Unreal's input mapping context. There we go, and then end this with a semicolon as well. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and need a structure. There we go, my structure is going to be my U input action value. Okay, perfect. Then I end this with a semicolon. Now here's the thing, I'm not gonna be using it inside here. I'm just defining my classes and structures here. I'm just declaring my classes and my structures here, but I will be defining it inside of my C++. I'm just telling Unreal that these things exist in my header files. Okay, speaking of that, so once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go under my protected data member above my begin play. I wanna go ahead and add a few U properties. The first U property is gonna be, I forgot for what. I know that I need 2 for action mapping. Let's check real quick. I need one for my input mapping context. I need for my input action. I need for my look input action. I need for my camera boom and follow camera. Okay, so first I'm gonna add a comment that says something like input mapping context. This is gonna be for my input mapping context section. Okay, so for my input mapping context, okay, what you're doing, the Emperor of Oats, that has none of the oats. Guys, I went and I bought oats today. This time I did like get the whole grain oats. This is like pretty good actually, but it's more chewy. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a new property, which I want it to be I want to be able to edit it anywhere, so I'm gonna go with something like anywhere, because my input mapping context will also be inside my Unreal Engine type, so if that makes any sense, guys. And then let's say I want it to be blueprint read only. Was it blueprint read only? Let's think. Okay, it was blueprint read only. So I'm gonna go to my header files. Let's go with something like a blueprint read only. There we go. Okay, and lastly, I'm gonna go ahead and add a category. Category is just for like organizing where I want my input mapping context to go in. I want it to go under my inputs section, and then I'm gonna go ahead and create a U input. Let's go with something like U input mapping context, which is gonna be represented by. Okay, I mean I could keep any name, but I want to like see the exact name so it makes more sense. Default mapping context. Okay, why is it set to default mapping context? I mean, we could set it to any name, but I like to like think, why can I not use some other names? Okay, let's go with something like default mapping context. I'm assuming that the mapping context basically means even like, for example, if I'm looking up and I click W, I won't be going upwards. I'm still going to be moving forward type stuff. CONTEXT. There we go, it's default mapping context, and then I end this way semicolon. Next up, I'm gonna go with something like input action. Okay, this is gonna be for my input action. I'm gonna create a U property which requires 3 parameters. I want to be able to edit it anywhere, so I'm gonna go with something like edit anywhere. Okay, and then I want it to be something like blueprint read only. Let's go with blueprint read only. And then I want my category to be equal to something like input. And then I'm gonna go ahead and let's say create a U input action. Let's go with input action, which is going to be represented by a pointer of, let's say, something like I know it was something like I might go with something like look input. I mean, there's something like move. I might go with something like move input, because this is going to be for me actually moving somewhere. I'm gonna then end this with a semicolon, and then let's go ahead and add another input action. Let's go with something like move input action. I'm gonna change this to something like look input action. This is gonna be for me looking around. Okay, I'm gonna add a U property again. Let's go with U property. Okay, which requires 3 parameters. Let's say I want to be able to edit my look input action anywhere. I want it to be blueprint read only. Did you learn about inheritance? Like, when do you give a class properties to another class? It's kind of good. I don't know. Honestly, I did learn object-oriented programming in like C++, but I did not try object-oriented programming using C++ in Unreal Engine, because I am still like working on the basic Unreal Engine function syntax and specifiers type stuff. That's let's go with a category, which is category, which is going to be input. And guys, I still don't understand, like, if I were to open my Unreal Engine, why do I just have half my Blender mesh here? Like, I was working on like 3D meshes type. So where's it gone? In my Blender QGB, I might go to NPCs. Let's go to Niji Kwang. There we go. And is that printed? Like, where's the other half of my mesh gone? I spent so much time like working on it. Let me open my Blender real quick. I might hide my reference images real quick, because that might actually give me a copyright. Hold up, guys. I want to actually show it to you guys. I might go to my Blender meshes, and then let's go to something like my Blender mesh. There we go. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and hide my images. Let's go ahead and hide that. Let's hide that as well. Let's close that. I mean, you guys could see like a tiny peek in the side of who I was actually talking about. If you guys actually know the anime, or like if you can like search the name up online. But this was the mesh that I was working on. Like it took me like I think like 6 or 7 hours yesterday, maybe like 4 or 5 hours to like make this. But then I'm not like completely done with this. And then I'm going to be also working on animating it type stuff. That makes any sense, guys? But I mean, even though I use like my mirror modifier here, it still just loaded half the mesh. Let's go with something like don't save, right? There we go. I hope it's not completely deleted. Like, if I were to load my mesh in here, it's just half a mesh. I don't know where's the other half actually gone. Let me get this a bit up. Because I did like show this to you guys early on in the stream, but then some of you guys weren't there that time. So let me know if you guys actually know how to like show the whole mesh. Okay, guys, let's actually not spam. We go with something like timeout. Let's go with like 5 minutes. There we go. Okay, so there's just half. I don't see the other half. Okay, speaking of which, let me get back to my code here. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and create something like a U input action. Let's go with something like a U input action, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like look input. There we go. And then I end this with a semicolon. U input action, look input. Okay, perfect. Those were the newer ones. Now, let me go ahead and add a camera boom. These are the ones that I already know of. Camera boom is basically a spring arm component, which actually is basically a selfie stick. Okay, so there's a U input action. There we go. Now, for my camera boom, I'm gonna go ahead and add another U property. But this time, for my camera boom, I want my camera boom to be visible anywhere. Let's go with something like visible anywhere. VISIBLE. And guys, actually ignore the voice. I think like there's like a background noise going on right now. Okay, let's go with something like visible anywhere. I want my camera boom to be something like blueprint read only. Let's go with something like blueprint read only. Okay, and then lastly, I want my category. Let's go with something like my category to be equal to input. Actually, it might be camera. And hold up, guys, let me actually mute myself real quick. Okay, mic testing. Guys, there was like some kind of background noises. Let me actually close my desktop audio. There we go. Okay, now let's automate come back here. Where was I at? Still see. Okay, I was creating a camera boom. So this is going to go under my cameras section. And then lastly, I'm going to go with something like follow camera. I'm going to go ahead and add a U property. Okay. I want my follow camera to be visible anywhere. Let's go with something like visible anywhere. I want it to be blueprint read only. I only want my blueprint to be able to read it. Guys, let me actually fix my typo. Let's go with only. Okay, and lastly, I want my category to be equal to camera. And guys, category again is just for whatchamacallit, organization, because I don't want it to be like just randomly inside my outline. I don't want it to like just be somewhere inside my outliner. Okay, you see our jobs. What is this? Need to go. Who are you? Honestly, I am like whatchamacallit, working on enhanced input logic in Unreal Engine 5 using C++. That said, let me go ahead and create a use spring arm component for my camera. Boom. I'm gonna go with use spring arm component. And guys, I am just declaring these pointers and like these classes and structures here. I am going to be defining them inside of my C++ folder. That said, let's go with something like my useSpringArm component is going to be represented by a pointer called something like camera boom. Let's go with something like camera boom, ending with a semicolon. And my camera component, so I'm going to go with something like uCamera component, is going to be represented by a follow camera as this pointer. Okay, perfect. Then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. And I think that's pretty much it. I'm kind of positive this is like pretty much it. Okay, that's it. Now, once I'm done with this, I'm going to hit Control S to save the code. And then let's go to my C++. Now, inside my C++ code, I need to add constructor. But most importantly, I need to include enhanced input components and enhanced input subsystems as header files. Okay, then in my begin play, I add a if statement. These are the two hard chunks that I gotta like actually learn. Excuse me, guys, learn and understand. But then rest everything is pretty easy actually. Okay, so firstly, I gotta include input components as header files and input subsystems as header files. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off by including something like Input components is header files. So let's go with enhanced input components 3D animator / generalist here. For the character mesh, you did not apply modifier in the Blender exporting to Unreal Engine. That could be the issue. I see, that actually does make sense. I might actually look into that after the stream. Okay, so let's go with enhanced input components .h, which is its header files, and then I'm gonna go ahead and include enhanced input components. Actually, enhanced input subsystems is header files. Let's go with something like subsystem.h, which is my subsystems is header files. Now here's the thing. There we go. Okay, I thought that I had a typo here. Okay, enhanced input subsystems. Did I have one? Enhanced input subsystems is header files. Okay, it was systems. I wrote system. There we go. Okay, now inside my constructor, I'm gonna go ahead and do something. I'm gonna create a default sub object for, let's say, my camera boom. So I'm gonna go ahead and set my camera boom. Okay, my camera boom is gonna be equal to the create a default sub objects function. I'm gonna create a default sub object, and then I'm gonna add a pair of ankle braces, and then my camera boom is a spring arm component, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a use spring arm component here. Okay, and then lastly, I'm gonna go with a text and call my sub object something like camera boom, which is going to be organized inside of my cameras as category. Okay, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and add a camera boom. Let's go with camera. Oops, there we go. Let's go with camera boom. I'm gonna point it towards the setup attachments section, and then from my setup attachment, I want to set up a root component. Okay, then end this with a semicolon, and then next up, since my camera boom is basically a selfie stick, and if you guys are like familiar with like film industries, camera boom is like the big stand where like the camera is actually attached to. I would go ahead and set my camera away from my player. So I'm gonna add a target arm length. Let's go with something like a target arm length. Let's go with target arm length. Okay, which is going to be equal to something like 400.f, which is basically 400 centimeters away from my human's mesh. And then lastly, I'm going to go with something like my camera boom. I'm going to point it towards a boolean section. So this is like a boolean check. I'm going to go with something like b use spawn control. Let's go with use spawn control rotation. I'm going to set that equal to true, which means I check the box. And guys, we could do this inside our editor as well, but I prefer doing it using code because I like to code. That's next up, I'm gonna go ahead and create a default sub object for my follow camera. Let's go with camera. Okay, I'm gonna set that equal to a create a default sub object. There we go, which is gonna be having a pair of ankle braces. My follow camera is gonna be my U camera component. Let's go with U camera component. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and call my this camera component. I don't know, maybe something like follow camera. Again, this is going to be organized inside of my cameras as category, if that makes any sense. Okay, that's it, Hiding Pixels. I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, next up, the same as I did with my camera boom, I'm going to go ahead and let's say set up an attachment. Let's go with set up attachment. Okay, now I won't be setting up a root component as an attachment. So let me fix my typo, CAM. There we go. Okay, now the reason I won't be setting my root component as an attachment is because I don't want my camera to be like a, an object of its own. I want my camera component to be the child of my camera boom. So my camera component is going to be attached to my camera boom. So my root component is going to be my camera boom because I want my camera to be attached to my spring arm component. And in case you guys know what roots are, if you guys know about plants and all that stuff, the root is like the stuff that grows down, so it's attached to like the soil. Just the same way my camera is attached to my spring arm component, which is my selfie stick / camera boom. Okay, now lastly, I'm gonna go with something like my follow camera. Okay, I'm gonna point it towards a boolean check. So let's go with use spawn control rotation. So my boolean use spawn control rotation is gonna be false here, ending with a semicolon, so I don't check this section. Okay, and that's pretty much it for my constructor. And now comes the harder and the newer stuff that I learned last stream. After I'm done adding that stuff, under my begin play, I'm gonna get my players as controller the brain of the player. I'm gonna add an if statement, and then I'm gonna check if my A player controller, which is represented by A player controllers, is pointer equals to cast A player controller. If this is set to true, so cast A player controller. I see. Okay, what is IN? Okay, INSRC. So in source, I'm assuming. If this is checked, then I go to my next if statement. Get the enhanced input local player subsystem from that controller. Okay, if you enhanced input local player subsystem, which is going to be represented by a subsystems pointer, is equal to u local player, which uses the scope resolution operator to get the get subsystem. Okay, then I use a pair of ankle braces and then set my u enhanced input local player subsystem here. Okay, which is my player controller that points towards local player. Get local player. Okay, I think okay, actually I don't see this much, but I understand what this means in theory. I just can't like phrase it up myself. At the mapping context, priority 0 means this is the base set of controls. Subsystem points toward add mapping context. Default mapping context priority is 0. This is the base set of controls. I see. Okay, I mean, I do gotta like write this a few times because my hand is not used to actually like writing this part, but I think I understand it in theory. So maybe I go ahead and get this in my other window because I just want to look at a reference. I mean, I could get it here. It's the same exact thing, honestly. There we go. Yeah, I might actually just look at the reference while writing it. There, so firstly, I'm going to add a statement to check if my A player controller, which is represented by A player controller, equals to cast A player controller. Okay, catch player controller, the brain of the player. So under my begin play, I'm going to go ahead and do something. Let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like get player controller. Okay, which is basically the brain of my player controller. Okay, was it brain of my player controller? I mean, the comments isn't the brain of the player. Okay, I mean, the comments isn't necessary, but I like writing it so I can like read through it and understand what it means. The brain of the player. So the brain of the player. Let's go with something like the brain of the player. Okay, perfect. Now I'm gonna add a if statement. Let's go with if a pair of parentheses. Let's say if my A player controller, okay, which is going to be represented by something like player controller, is equal to, let's go with something like a cast with a ankle braces. Is this part correct? I forgot this part. Which represented by player controller is equal to cast a player controller. Okay, if my player controller is equal to my cast of a player controller, okay, which is controller. There. Okay, if this is set to true, then I do something. I'm gonna go with a pair of curly braces. There. Okay, do you guys think this pair of curly braces look cleaner, or if I like go in a new line and add a pair of curly braces? I mean, I feel either way it's the same. Okay, A player controller equals to cast A player controller. I see. If that is set to true, then I move on to the next section, which is get enhanced input local players. Get the enhanced input local player subsystem from that controller. Enhanced input local. Oh, I see. Enhanced input local player subsystem. This whole thing is this keyword here. Okay, so get enhanced input local player subsystem from that controller. Okay, so I'm gonna go with a comment that says something like get enhanced input local player subsystem from the input. Here's the thing, what does this part mean? SYSTM. Okay, so get the enhanced input local player subsystem from that controller. Get the enhanced input local player subsystem from that controller. I'm assuming it's from this controller. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add an if statement to do that. So I'm gonna check if my U enhanced input local player subsystem, which is going to be represented by, let's say, a subsystems as pointer. Okay, ENHANCED. There we go. My U enhanced local player subsystem is going to be represented by subsystem. If this is equal to, okay, so if U enhanced input local player subsystem is equal to U local player get subsystem, so I get my subsystem of my U input local player subsystem, so I get the subsystem from here using the U local players class. Okay, player controller get local player. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a U local player. Let's go with a U local player. Okay, maybe let me go ahead and add a space between the equal to. Okay, with a scope resolution operator that points towards the get subsystem sys function. Okay, get subsystem sys function. Was that get subsystem? Okay, so what up guys, there we go. So human mage.cpp. Wait, why is my mage.cpp all the way up there? There we go. There. Okay, so my mage.cpp get subsystem with a pair of ankle braces IC player controller. Okay, get local player. Okay, so this is get subsystem. Then I'm gonna go ahead and add a pair of ankle braces. Okay, this is going to be something like U enhanced, let's go with ENHANCED, U enhanced input local, let's go with something like local player subsystem. I think I spelled it awfully wrong. Local U enhanced input local player subsystem. There. Okay, which is gonna be having a pair of parentheses. I'm gonna go ahead and from my player controller. Okay, I'm gonna get my let's see, I forgot. I'm gonna get my local player. Was it local player? Okay, I'm gonna get my local player from my player controller. There we go. Okay, from my player controller, I'm gonna get my local player. Okay, let's go with PLA. YER, but they broke parentheses. LOCL. I think I spelled local wrong. There. I think that's pretty much it. LOC. Okay, get local player. This function. And then I end this with a semicolon. But here's the thing. Am I missing a pair of parentheses? Let's see. Okay, I am missing a pair of parentheses. Let's see why. Because I started a pair of parentheses here. I never ended it here. So I'm going to add a pair of parentheses to end that. Perfect. Okay. Wait, this is my pair of parentheses that I started there and edge here. I would not need this. Expected an expression. Okay, wait. So, I might remove this. Let's go ahead and exit that part. There we go. Now my pair of parentheses. I started here. It ends here. That's correct. My if statement. Oh. Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and add a pair of curly braces. There we go. That's what I was missing, guys. Now, inside my pair of curly braces, I'm gonna go ahead and do something. So inside, I'm gonna add the mapping context. Priority 0 means this is the base set of controls. Subsystem is gonna point towards add mapping context. Default mapping context 0. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a comment that says something like, I forgot the comment name. I mean, it's not necessary to actually add the word to, or like quote unquote the comment, but I like to add them quote unquote and like learn them quote unquote, because like later on, like right now when I look into the code, it's easier for me to understand what I meant with that code. Add the mapping context. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add mapping context. There we go. Okay, I won't be adding what priority 0 means, but I will be setting my subsystem. Let's go with subsystem to be pointing towards, let's say, subsystem is going to be pointing towards the default mapping. Let's go with mapping context. Okay, perfect. Default mapping context is function, which requires two parameters. First is going to be my, I'm pretty sure my class, right? My class right here. So, excuse me guys, did I have a typo? Edit anywhere, blueprint read only, CATEGORY. There we go. Guys, I spelled my category wrong, CATEGORY. Okay, perfect. Okay, now what is the parameter that I'm going to be needing here? Okay, so it's going to be my default mapping context. Did I create this somewhere here? Okay, pretty sure not. So I'm going to add my default mapping context. Oh, I see. I created that and I had a pointer here. There we go. I had a pointer called default mapping context. No wonder. I was like, I never created that, but never mind. I did create that. How doing, Garba? Appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, and then my priority is going to be 0, ending with a semicolon. Now, again, I'm missing a parentheses here, but why am I missing one? Let's see. I know I am missing one here. So, I need to end this one. I need to end that one, and I need to end that one. So, I am missing one. There we go. Okay, default mapping context. Class enhanced input local player subsystem has no member default mapping context. Pretty sure it was called default mapping context, right? Let's go ahead and just close all of that. There we go. It's add mapping context. Let's go with add mapping context. Okay, let's go with context. There we go. Okay, this requires two parameters. First is going to be my mapping context, which is my default. Okay, my DEFAULT, my default mapping context. Why is there a whole space up here? Options. Okay, mapping context. Let me copy this. Delete this from here. I want to paste it. Whoops, I wanted to paste it, not build it. Let's go ahead and exit that there. I mean, it's fine. Okay, let's hit Control S. Okay, I've written this once, so I think I got a pretty good grasp of what this means. Okay, let me go ahead and eat something real quick. There we go. Checking my stream is going good. Okay, but there's one question. Why doesn't the default mapping context actually have like a space in between them here? What if I copy this? Okay, and then let's go ahead and paste it. I mean, it's the exact same thing. I just want to check. There we go. Okay, what is the next thing that I need? But before I go to the next thing, do I want to try writing this again? Maybe like later on. Okay, so once I'm done with this, I'm gonna create a void method outside, or I'm gonna define the function that I've declared inside of my I didn't do this part. Inside my header files. A move function which requires a call movement input. Okay, so I'm gonna add something like move and look functions. Okay, so move constant f input action which requires a value call for looking input. Okay, constant f input action value. By f I'm assuming it's like floating, so this is going to be like a floating point value that I get. Okay, let's go to my header files. Did I spell category wrong? CATEGORY. There we go. Okay, and then now once I'm done with this part, I'm assuming under my, okay, above my begin play. Okay, so after my follow camera, I'm gonna go ahead and add another protected set of data members. Let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like move and look function. Move and look functions. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and create a void function called something like move. My move function is going to be having a constant parameter of a floating point input action value, which is going to be requiring the memory address of a value, and then I end this with a semicolon. Next up, I'm going to create a void loop. Says function which requires a constant. Let's go with something like a constant. F input, I'm going to go with something like F input action value. Okay, my floating point input action value, which requires the memory address of a value parameter. And then I end this with a semicolon as well. Now let's hit control to save the code. I declared my function inside my header files. I'm going to define them inside my C++ files. Outside my begin play, I'm going to go ahead and create a void function where from my humans class, I'm going to go ahead and use the scope resolution operator and get my move function, which requires a constant parameter, a constant floating point input action. Was it action input? Value, which requires the memory address of a value as this parameter. There we go. Okay, then I'm gonna go with the pair of curly braces. Now let me just go ahead and eat some oats real quick. Okay, so inside my move function, firstly I gotta convert the input to a 2D vector. X-axis for side to side, y-axis for forward and back. Okay, get forward and back vectors. Okay, so y-axis is forward and backwards. X-axis is side to side, I see. Okay, so firstly, I gotta go ahead and create a movement vector which represents my f vector, my floating point vector 2D. Okay, which is going to be equal to value dot the get f vector 2D. Okay, so from my value, I get my f vector 2D. I think there's like an oat stuck in my teeth. That's it, let's see. Okay, so I have a movement vector up here. Okay, then I had an if statement to check if my controller is not equal to null PDR. If my controller is not null PDR, then I find out which is a normal based on where the camera is looking. Okay, I think Pixels, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and create a constant f rotator, a floating point rotator, which represents a rotations local variable that is gonna be equal to my controller, pointing towards the get control rotation. Okay, I think I see. And then I go ahead and add another constant f rotator, which is represented by a yaw input sys function that requires 3 parameters. First is 0. Okay, so doesn't it say what variable it requires? Okay, I mean, it is like a local variable. And then it requires a constant yaw, a rotation.yaw input. Okay, and then 0 again. I'm assuming this like flattens out my entire thing from 3D to 2D. Okay, and then get forward and right vectors. Constant f vector forward direction equals to f rotation matrix yaw rotation dot get unit axis e axis. Okay, I'll go with these two parts later on. First, I want to add these. So first, I'm going to go ahead and create a f vector 2D, which is represented by a movement vector value dot get f vector 2D. Okay, so I'm going to go down here. What was the comment there? Convert input to a 2D vector. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add a comment that says something like convert input to a 2D vector. I won't be adding like x's for side to side and y's for forward and back. That's like self-explanatory. But then I will be, let's say, creating a f vector 2-dimensional, which is going to be represented by something like, I forgot what was it going to be represented by a movement vector. Okay, by a movement vector. Okay, which is going to be equal to my value dot the get function. Okay, with a pair of ankle braces my get function is going to be requiring my f vector 2D. There we go, two-dimensional. There we go. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add a pair of parentheses here. Inside my pair of parentheses, I'm gonna go ahead and I forgot what to do. I don't think I gotta do anything inside my pair of parentheses. Yeah, I don't gotta do anything. I just gotta end it with a semicolon. There. Okay, so f. So I have a f vector 2D, a movement vector equals to value dot get. Okay, so f vector two-dimensional, a pair of parentheses. Okay, I think I see. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and add a statement to check my controller is not null PDR. If it's not, I find out which way is normal based on where the camera is looking. Okay, so let's go with something like if a pair of parentheses, if my controller is not equal to null PDR, which is basically a placeholder for pointers. If it's not null PDR, then I'm gonna go ahead and add a comment that says something like check which way is the camera facing. Okay, so I'm gonna look which way the camera is facing. Let's go with something like which. Okay, now let me fact check that. So find out which way is normal based on where the camera is looking. I think that's much more clear. Okay, so let's go with something like find out which way is normal based on where the camera is looking. Okay, perfect. Yo, bro, may I know what is the prompt you had given to ChatGPT for Sensei? Honestly, the prompt is like secret, but then because like there's some private stuff there, but then I usually just said to act like an actual Sensei, because like if you guys don't know, Sensei is like teacher in like Japanese, so it's like just act like a Sensei. And then I gave my what should I call it? My roadmap, or like I gave my goal that I wanted to like actually learn. In this case, I wanted to like learn Unreal Engine 5 for my program for like 250 series. If that makes any sense. That said, find out which way is normal based on where the camera is looking. Okay, perfect. So, and then I go with a constant f rotator, which is going to be represented by rotator's local variable that is going to be equal to controller that points towards get control rotation. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a constant f rotator. Let's go with something like a constant f rotator, which is going to be represented by was it like just a plain rotator? Rotation. Okay, so it's going to be represented by a rotation's local variable, which is going to be equal to. Okay, let's see. So it's controller that points towards get control rotation. So it's controller which points towards the get control rotations function. Okay, perfect. That's actually pretty much it for this part. Okay, so constant f rotator, which is represented by rotation's local variable that's equal to my controller, which points towards get control rotations function. Okay, the get control rotation, this is the full aim rotation, which may be different than a camera orientation, for example, in a third person view, okay, and may differ from the rotation and the control pawn, which may choose not to visually pitch or roll, for example. I see. Okay, next up, once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say create another constant f rotator, which is going to be represented by a yaw rotation. Now, the yaw rotation is in charge of me rotating horizontally in the x-axis. Pitch rotation, in the other hand, is in charge of me rotating vertically or looking up and down using the y-axis. Okay, so I'm gonna first go with yaw and then I'll go with pitch. So I'm gonna go with something like constant f rotator, which is going to be represented by something like a yaw rotation sys function, which is going to be requiring 3 parameters. First is 0, second is was it controller.yaw? It was rotation.yaw, so I'm going to go with rotation.yaw. This is going to be my yaw input. Okay, and then I'm going to go with 0 again. Then I end this way semicolon. Okay, that was it for these 2 sections. Okay, hi Sexy guys, hi Sexy is kind of crazy, although I doing Bahi is how I pronounce your name. I appreciate you joining the stream. So, handsome guys, I don't actually want to get flustered here. Okay, let's see. So, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go back to my C++ now. In my C++, get forward and right vector, I'm gonna be getting my forward and right vector. So to do that, first I go ahead and use the F vector. This is something that I've used before. My F vector is going to be represented by a forward directions local variable that is going to be equal to F vector is going to be represented by a forward direction, which is going to be equal to F rotation matrix, your rotation. Okay, my F rotation matrix is function that requires a parameter of a your rotation dot the point get unit axis. This function that requires e axis of x. Okay, there we go. I think I see F vector forward direction. Okay, hi bro, what are you doing? Honestly, I am like working on learning enhanced inputs in Unreal Engine 5 using C++. For the time being, I am just trying to like understand what this code does. I'm trying to like break it down and all that stuff. Okay, can you tell me which country are you living currently? Honestly, I do live abroad, but I can't give my exact country in for like safety reasons. That's it, howdy Pixel, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, get forward and right vectors. So, I'm gonna go ahead and add a comment that says something like get forward. F-O-R-W-A-R-D, get forward and right vectors. So, let's go with right vector. Okay, perfect. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and create something like a constant F vector. Okay, which is going to be represented by something like, was it a forward direction? Okay, let's see. Okay, it's represented by a forward direction, which is equal to F forward matrix that requires a yaw rotation as parameter. Let's go with something like a forward direction, which is going to be equal to F. Okay, was it F forward matrix? Guys, these function names are kind of complex. F rotation matrix. There we go. So I go with F rotation matrix. Okay, there we go. Okay, F rotation matrix that requires a parameter of something like yaw rotation. Okay, dot the E axis. Actually, yeah, the E axis is function, which is going to be having the X axis as a parameter. Okay, F-R-O-T-A-T-I-O-N-M-A-T-R-I-X. There we go. F rotation matrix. So I'm pretty sure the E axis was inside. I get my unit axis. There we go. So my function name was wrong. I get my unit axis. Okay, so let's go with axis. And my unit axis is E axis. Let's go with E X. E axis is gonna be X. There, dead end this way, semicolon. Okay, I won't say this was complicated. This was pretty easy once I like understand what these functions do and I like remember their names. Parameters of rotation. Okay, so this requires a F rotators as function, which is my yaw rotation or my regular rotation. Okay, this is for moving forwards and right forward direction. I know what F vector does. What does get unit rotation does? Get unit length x-axis of this matrix. Parameters I index into the axis of the matrix returns vector of this line. I see. Okay, generic axis enum mirrored for property used in object.h. I see. Okay, I think this makes somewhat sense. That said, I'm gonna go to my main.c++ again. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say create another constant f vector for my right direction, which is gonna have a f rotation matrix of yaw rotation. Why am I only moving in a yaw rotation? Shouldn't like right. So let's take this. Forwards and backwards is the x-axis. And then right and left is the y-axis. But why is it yaw rotation? Because yaw is for turning. Might have to ask that question. Forward direction, movement.y, forward direction, right direction, movement.x. Right and left. I mean, I could first write it and then later on I'm gonna ask questions. Okay, USA or Australia or Asia. Honestly, could be one of them, guys. That's it. Let's go all the way back here. I'm gonna go with something like a constant f vector. Let's go with something like constant f vector, which is going to be something like a right direction. Okay, which is going to be equal to, let's say, something like f rotation matrix. matrix. Okay, with the both parentheses. Now I'm gonna go ahead and require a parameter of my yaw rotation. Everything is almost the same. Okay, dot the get unit axis. I'm gonna get a unit axis. Okay, which is gonna be having a e-axis for my y-axis, ending with a semicolon. Okay, my e-axis is gonna be lowercase. There. Actually, it's gonna be capitalized. My bad, guys. There we go. Okay, bye then. I appreciate you sticking through the stream. Bahi's our minister name. Kitchen next stream. Brother, is A okay? Is A okay? Okay, next up I gotta go ahead and add a movement input. Okay, this is a thing that I know. Okay, now let's go ahead and add a comment that says something like add movement input. For my movement input, I'm gonna go ahead and use the add movement inputs as function. Let's go with add a movement input. Okay, maybe zoom in a bit so you guys can see it. Like, how long have you been into programming? Honestly, I think it's like closing into like 7-ish months or so, because I started my first ever programming, or my first year of programming when I had my Python for 100 series. I was like completely new to programming with like zero programming experience. But then I started that series like 6 months ago. It's like closing to like 7-ish months type stuff. That said, after that I started another series which was like programming for like 250 days, where I spent 100 days out of the 250 days to like learn C++, because my goal by the end of that series was to make a game in general that consists of AI logic in it. So I spent 100 days learning C++. Now I'm going to be spending the next 150 days learning Unreal Engine using C++, but then I might actually learn Python as well. Actually, I do already know Python, but I might try implementing my Python and C++ into the same project. Python for the AI logic, C++ for the running speed and all that stuff. That said, I might actually have to have a few streams for Blender as well, because I do gotta like make 3D models as well, so my game can actually look good by the end of the series. That said, I'm gonna go ahead and add a movement input, which requires 2 parameters. The first parameter is gonna be a world direction, which in this case is gonna be my forward direction. And guys, I keep fixing my I keep fixing my wall from the side. I think it's like right there. There we go. I like keep fixing this part, but like it keeps getting back here. Maybe I gotta like pull it somewhere from here. There we go. I mean, I could like do that off stream. It's actually fine. Okay, that's it. Let's go all the way back here. Okay, tried hands on Rust. I haven't like tried Rust yet, but then I've heard that it's like pretty good for like AI stuff and all that. Okay, so like what's Rust actually used for? Because I might actually try that. I was actually gonna go for Rust, but then I had my series, so I had to like go for C++. I thought C++ was gonna be useful as well, so it was like a pretty good thing. Okay, let's go with something like movement vector dot x-axis. Then I'm gonna go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add another input movement. Let's go with something like add input movement or add movement input. Let's go with add movement input. Okay, with a parentheses that requires 2 parameters. The first is going to be a world direction, which in this case it's going to be my right direction. And guys, this is like enhanced inputs here that I'm using. But then it would like be like much easier if I use like the legacy inputs. But then Gemini said that was kind of outdated, so I did like work. So I am like working with like enhanced inputs. I already like understand what Gemini means by legacy input was kind of outdated type stuff. Let's go with a y-axis, ending with a semicolon. You just go ahead and eat something real quick. There we go. Okay, so wide image look. So I'm done with my move function. Now I gotta go ahead and work with my look function. One is for yaw input, the other is for pitch input, but my pitch did not work last stream. So I gotta fix my pitch. Look axis vector. Okay, so I create the look axis vector. Okay, so this is yaw, and then this is going to be for my major look. So I'm firstly gonna go ahead and exit outside of my function here. Create another void function. My function is going to be called from my humans class. I'm going to use the scope resolution operator to get access to my look function and declare something in my look function. My look function requires a constant parameter of something like f input action value, f input action value, which requires the memory address of a values parameter. Then I go with the prof curly braces. Now inside my looksys function, I'm firstly going to go ahead and create a look axis vector. So that's going to be my 2D vector as well. Let's go with something like a f vector, two-dimensional. So it's going to be a two-dimensional vector, which is going to be represented by look axis vector. Okay, it is going to be represented by my look axis vector. Says local variable that is going to be equal to my value dot the get function with the prof ankle braces that requires a parameter. It requires what parameter did it require? Okay, it requires my f vector two-dimensional parameter. So let's go with 2D. Then I'm going to go with the prof parentheses to invoke the function ending with a semicolon. Alright, now that I'm done with this part, I'm going to go back to my major C++ file. I added an if statement to check if my controller is non-null PDR the exact same way I did for my move method. Okay, then I add a comment that says vector x goes to yaw and vector y goes to pitch. That is like self-explanatory, but like I think it's fine. Add controller yaw inputs, add controller pitch inputs. This is my value. I multiply my value by 0.1. Add controller pitch input. It's correct actually. Okay, I mean I know it's correct, but then okay, let's go with something like add. Wait, hold up. Did it say inputs? Okay, it was add controller. I was like, I might have figured out why it didn't work yesterday because of the add input. Never mind, guys. Add controller is correct because basically I use my mouse to turn around and my mouse is a controller. My keyboard requires inputs. Let's go with something like add controller. Your inputs is function with a prof parentheses that requires a parameter of my value. In this case, my value is going to be... what is my value going to be? It's look axis vector dot x and look axis vector dot x axis. Okay, now here's the thing. I usually require a parameter. When I worked with my legacy mapping, I just required a floating point parameter of value, which my input action value is still floating point. It might be different for like enhanced inputs, but in case this did not work, I might change the constant f input action value to be a floating point parameter of just value. Guys, that did sound kind of complicating, but then let's go with something like look axis vector dot x-axis multiplied by 0.1, which is like 10% of my original sensitivity, because if this is set to 1 and I try turning myself, I'm going to rotate really fast type stuff. Okay, so are you like a CS undergrad or learning stuff for fun? For the time being, I am like learning stuff for fun type stuff, but I am like a freshman in college. That said, I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon, and then I'm going to go ahead and add another controller input. So I'm going to go with something like add controller pitch input. Yaw input is in charge of me turning horizontally. Pitch input is in charge of me turning vertically. Now I'm going to go ahead and require my look axis vectors as function dot the y-axis multiplied by 0.1, which is 10% of my original speed, ending with a semicolon. And that's about it for my look function. Once I'm done with that, I do a really important stuff of binding. So under my player input component, I'm gonna cast enhance input component. So if my u enhance input component, which is represented by a pointer of enhanced input component, equals to cast checked u enhance input component, player input component. If my enhanced input component is equal to this, I go ahead and add a nested if statement that binds my move action. So if move action is set to true, enhance input components as pointer points towards the bind actions as function. Okay, which requires 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parameters. My move action, E trigger event triggered. A trigger event. When is my move being triggered? When I click something on my keyboard. Who do I want to implement the changes on? I want to implement it on this mage's object. What do I want to do? I want to do the stuff that is set inside of my mage's move function. I see. Okay, so cast to enhance input component. So I'm going to go out of it on here. Let's go ahead and add a comment here that says something like cast. Okay, cast to enhanced input component. Cast to enhanced input component. There we go. I've gone through C++ roughly. It's still very surface level. I sort of want to become like a C++ wizard. Okay, how do you advise me going about that? Actually, I'd say like C++ is like a really like fun language and all that stuff, but the only thing that does confuse us is like how the actual syntax and all that stuff works. It actually depends. If you want to work with general C++, that's going to be much easier than if you want to, I won't say it's going to be much easier, but it's gonna have different syntaxes, different functions compared to the C++ that you use in like SDL, because like in SDL there's different functions. For example, set render draw color function to set a render. C++ might have a different syntax and function. And now my SDL's syntax and functions of C++ is different from my Unreal's C++ syntax and functions is, if that makes any sense. So it like really depends, but then I feel like the syntaxes are mostly the same. The only thing that's kind of different is function. Like both in my C++ when I was working with SDL, Unreal, and just regular C++, when I created a function, I could either go with void if I didn't want to return anything. If I went with an integer, I had to return something. The only thing is difference that I had to like create a main function when I worked with like SDL or like my regular C++. But instead of creating like regular main function, I created classes here and all that stuff. And I use my constructors different here as well compared to how I use it in regular C++. So it like really depends on what you're actually working with. Okay, that said, but the really good advice that I might give is like never stop working on that stuff, even if the progress seems like kind of slow for the time being. That said, cast to enhanced input component. So component. Okay, perfect. Now to cast to my input component, I'm gonna add a if statement that checks something. Let's go to my mage.c++. Okay, so I'm going to check if my U enhanced input component, which is going to be represented by enhanced inputs as pointer, is equal to cast check. Okay, I see. So I'm going to go with something like if my U enhanced, I forgot a U, guys. Let's go with something like if my U enhanced enhanced input component, which is going to be represented by a pointer of something like enhanced input component enhanced input component, okay, is equal to, let's go with something like the cast check. I'm assuming this is the cast checks is template because I use a pair of ankle braces here. Inside my pair of ankle braces, I'm gonna go ahead and add my enhanced input component. Okay, I think I gotta go with U enhanced input component because this is like an Unreal's input component. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy that, paste it here in case I had a typo that I did have. Let's go with something like U. Okay, my cast check is gonna be U enhanced input component. So then I'm gonna go ahead and do something. Let's go ahead and point towards. Maybe I go ahead and get this in a new line. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and point it towards my player input component. Let's go with something like my player input component. So there we go. Okay, now is my cast checks spelling correct? So it's cast checked, not cast check. Okay, so cast check, CHECKED. There we go. Then I go ahead and add a pair of curly braces here. Now, if this condition is met, then I'm going to go to my second phase, which is going to be a nested if statement that binds the move action. So I'm going to go ahead and add a comment that says something like bind move action. And guys, again, these comments aren't like necessary. The reason I add them is like, so when I look at my code, I know exactly what this block of code does. Okay, what are you doing or making? Honestly, I am like working on enhanced input systems in Unreal Engine using C++. That's it. I did like go over this last stream, but I did not completely master that, so I was doing it this stream as well. Speaking of which, guys, it's gonna become like much harder to do this stuff because my college is gonna start from this Monday. So that's pretty much it. I had like a good month holiday type stuff. Okay, so if my movement action, so it says if move action, which is a pointer that I've created inside of my, there we go, my move input, which I created inside of my header files for my human. CATEGORY, category is correct. Blueprint read only. ANYW, there we go. Guys, whenever you see a purple underline, it's definitely a typo. Or either a specifier does not exist. There. So a move input. So I'm gonna go with something like move input. If my move input, okay. So if move input is set to true, then I'm gonna go ahead and do something. But before that, I want to fact check something. There we go, move input. Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and do something. I'm gonna point my enhanced input component towards bind action. I want to bind the action. Okay, so I'm gonna point my enhanced input component. I'm gonna point it towards the bind actions, bind axis function. Wait, is it an axis or an action? It is an action. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and bind a action. Now, unlike bind axis, my bind action requires a few parameters. BINDACTION. Okay, my bind action requires firstly a parameter of I forgot. Of my move action. So I'm gonna go with something like my move input. Okay, now does it say all the function that it requires? It does not. No instance overload you enhance bind action matches the argument list above. Okay, the second is gonna be a trigger, so I'm gonna go with something like, I forgot what was it for trigger, guys. These keywords are kind of hard to remember, but I think it's gonna get easy. E-trigger event, which is gonna be trigger. I'm gonna go with E-trigger event with a scope resolution operator of triggered. There. Okay, then I'm gonna go with a comma. The third is gonna be an object on who do I want to actually implement this content on. I want to implement it on my human object. And then I go with something like this. Okay, what do I want to do? I want to add a function when this is triggered. Let's say from my a humans class, I want to get to my move function and do this. Then end this with a semicolon. There we go. Okay, now here's the thing. Did I mess something up here? Triggered this. AMH. This is going to be moved. That was correct. Okay, it's actually correct if I look at bind action. A human. HUMAN. Scope resolution operator of move. Okay, I mean, it is correct. Did I not need a pair of parentheses? There we go. I did not have to invoke my function. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and add another if statement here. Speaking of if statements, I might want to get this down so it's more readable. There. If I get this in the next line, there we go. Okay, what if I go ahead and get these like that? There we go. Okay, does this make it more readable? Okay, I think it looks much cleaner. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and bind my look action. Let's go with something like bind look action. There we go. Have you ever had someone research out to your... Okay, guys, I can't read from this far. Have you ever had someone reach out to you from Stream for a potential hiring or work together on stuff kind of opportunity? Honestly, I have so many of you guys, but I like told you guys that I might not actually want to do that right now because I am mostly like a beginner at the time being, so I would just hold you guys back. So I am first working on my own content and all that stuff. And once I get pretty good with this, I could actually look later on if I want to have a stream where I like work with like my subscribers and all that stuff. Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah. Because whatchamacallit, it feels kind of awful if I like whatchamacallit, if I agree to something but then I couldn't like live up to you guys' expectations, guys, because I feel like I am kind of a beginner at the moment. That said, I'm gonna go with something like a bind axis. It's gonna be actually bind action. It's gonna be exactly the same as my enhanced inputs here. Only thing that's gonna be different is I'm gonna go ahead and get this here. There we go. There. Okay, so from my bind action, my action name, I'm gonna require 5 parameters. The first is gonna be my action name, which in this case is gonna be my move input. The second parameter is gonna be a trigger to check if I actually trigger something. So let's go with something like e trigger, trigger. Okay, I'm gonna go with the trigger event, which is gonna be set to triggered. Okay, once the event is triggered for my move action, I want to go ahead and do some kind of thing. I want to change the settings for, or I want to apply a function to my this object, to my human object. My function is going to be, let's say, from my a humans is class. I want to go ahead and implement my looks function. Okay, then I go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Alright, perfect. That's actually pretty much it for this entire enhanced input system here. I'm gonna hit Control S to save the code, Control S to save the code. Let's open my Unreal Engine up here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and delete my mesh from here, guys. I spent like 5 or 6 hours yesterday, like working on a 3D model, but when I went ahead and I imported it, it was like just half a model. Like I did not understand where is the other half gone. But I might like usually like Tuesdays I have a gaming stream like once a week. I like stream gaming and all that stuff. But then I might actually have a Blender stream because like I could change my Tuesdays schedule from like just gaming stream to like a general stream, like a stream with general type stuff. That said, I'm gonna go ahead and set him to be human for the time being. Let's go ahead and type something like live compile. I want to compile my code. When I compile my code, I should be seeing a camera now. While I see a camera, let me go ahead and just eat something real quick. Okay, it said my bind action had an issue for my move. Okay, enhanced input component. What did I type here? Enhanced input component. Bind action, so it's look action, okay. E trigger, and then this image look. Move input. Oh, I see. This is going to be my look input. Let's go with something like a look. Guys, these are the tiny typos that I gotta like be really careful of because like I always fall for these typos. There we go. This is going to be my look input. And now if I open my Unreal Engine, go ahead and type something like live compile. Let's go ahead and live compile this again. There we go. Okay, while it's compiling, I might actually eat some more oats. Why does it say build failed? Trace written file total time in Unreal Engine. Where does it say the error name? It says bind action is the issue here. Compile 5 out of 5, okay. Look input E trigger event triggered, okay. E trigger event triggered. So my look input is the actual issue up here. Okay, so let's see why is my look input an issue here. I added the memory address, so I require the memory address of this, and then E trigger event triggered, okay, and then look input. This way your mouse doesn't work. Okay, there could be 2 reasons for this. The first reason could be because I need to go to my Unreal Engine and actually create my inputs. For some reason, my input is not like registering here. So if I go to something like input, I have IA look, I have IA move, I have IMC defaults. If I were to run the code, my this code is already being implemented to my mages object. So do I have a mages class here? Let me go to my C++ classes project. Let's go with something like mage. Okay, now my mages class has a camera and it's got everything. It's got okay, it does not got a static mesh. It does not have a static mesh. So maybe I go ahead and delete my mage from here. Let's go with mage, delete him real quick. Now I'm gonna go ahead and click my human. In my humans class, I'm gonna go with something like possess. Actually, in my details tab, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and type something like possess. I'm gonna set my possess to be player 0. So now my mage isn't player 0, but my human is player 0. I'm gonna go ahead and exit that. Okay, but it says my look is wrong. Let's go with something like live compile. Let's go down. There we go. Okay, howdy Pixel, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, why does it say build failed? What is something that I missed here? Okay, so it's E trigger constant, E file, E name, name no number internal. Where did they give the error? I mean, this is the error. it says look input is the place that I'm messing up on. So I gotta fix that. So look, okay, these are look actions. But in my human.c++, I have look inputs. I have a bind action. I bind a action. This is going to be my move input. That is going to be my look input, because those are the two function names that I kept it all the way up here. I have a move function, a look function. I added those. I have a look input. I have a move input. I have two separate kinds of inputs. I have these functions here of input action value. Okay, if look input. Okay, I think I see. Let me go to my Unreal Engine. Under my humans class, I gotta go ahead and go to my details section and type something like input. In my input, order received disabled, order received priority is set to 0. That's correct. Here's the thing, I'm forgetting something really important. Hold up, guys. My IMC defaults. Okay, this is just a default action. So these are like input mapping context, and this is my input action. Input it is 2D vector, but something should be wrong with my code. I'm positive something is wrong with my code. Okay, what if I go ahead and just copy this part? Let's go ahead and copy that real quick. Let's go ahead and paste this here. I just want to see if something is messed up here. How much did I copy? Okay, I think I copied the whole thing. Let's go from here and then paste this here. There. Okay, so instead of input move action, I go with something like move input. Okay, and then this is going to be look input. Let's delete that. Let's go with something like input. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy my move input. Let's go ahead and paste it here. Let's copy my look input. Whoops, let's go with Control Z, Control C, Control V. I'm going to change AMH to be a human. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and change AMH to be a human here as well. Okay, now here's the thing. It works. My code is correct. Let's hit Control S to save the code. Open my Unreal Engine here real quick. Let's go with something like a live compile. While it's compiling, I might actually eat some oats. Okay, is there anything else that I messed up in that case? Okay, so let me think real quick. So, my binding is correct. Something in my functions. This is your controller. Okay, this is look axis. That is x-axis. That is y-axis. This is add movement input. Okay, maybe I go with controller. Control C. Copy that. Let's get Sensei/Gemini up here. Okay, let's go ahead and paste this. Go with Shift Enter and see something like Sensei. Is something wrong with this code question mark? I get this error when I try to compile it. Okay, let's get the error real quick. Let's go with something like live and compile. Okay, let's wait for it to compile. So it says, okay, manual compiling triggered. Okay, let's scroll all the way down here. I mean, I don't need to like get all this. This is like a massive error. Alright guys, that is a big error. I want to get a smaller one. Okay, let's go. A bit higher. There we go. I think that should be good. Because everything is just repeated after this. Let's get Gemini all the way up here again. There we go. Okay, let's go with Shift and try and paste this. Okay, let's see. Okay, don't you let a compiler error ruin the stream? Sensei leans into the camera, squinting at the wall of a red text with a smirk. Guys, I don't know why it's like Gemini so into the role playing. That said, the Sensei's diagnostics. Look at the very last line of your code. Note, while you're trying to match the argument list you input action e-triggered human, do you see that void CDELC a human constant integer? The compiler thinks your look and move functions want an integer, a number, but you're trying to give them a f input action value. Wait, I see it. Look at your human file. Or the top of your C++, if you didn't include the right header, the compiler doesn't know what f input action value is, so it defaults to it. The emergency repair the missing header. Make sure this line is at the top of your human.cpp input action value.h. I don't think I did that. Add movement forward direction. I caught a tiny logic in your movement. You wrote this thing. Stop. Remember, X is usually side to side, Y is forward and backwards. So X is going to be that, Y is going to be that. The bind action confusion. This editor is also complaining about fname. This usually happens if the compiler thinks you're calling the old input system instead of the enhanced one. Ensure input actions, okay, is included. That's your function signatures will perfectly fix this. Okay, I did that. In that case, the stuff that I might be messing on is this should be y-axis. Hey man, what's up? How doing, Arkesh? I appreciate you joining the stream. How doing? Anand, Desire Pin stream. I appreciate you joining the stream as well. I appreciate you joining the stream as well, Pixels. Okay, let's go with something like X. There we go. Okay, perfect. I mean, that shouldn't like change much, but I gotta include something here. The thing is, I did not include it here and it worked. Okay, let's see. Maybe I go with something like Control A, Control C, copy that. Let's get Gemini up here. Let's go ahead and paste this. It could be because I'm using the same chat like from 3 days ago. I gotta probably change my chat. Let's go with Control A, Control C, go all the way up here. Let's go ahead and paste this here. Can say something like, this is my code. Let's say. Okay, let's see. Okay, I see the sabotage in the code. The live diagnostic, the header identity crisis, the compiler error in your human.h. Look at line 13. Structure input action value. This is wrong. F input action value is a structure, but its name starts with F, not U. Okay, so it's F input action value. Oh, okay, I see. That actually might be the thing that was messing it all up. Let's open my Unreal Engine real quick. Let's type something like live and go down. There we go. Okay, I'm positive this should actually work. Let's scroll all the way down here. There we go. Results succeeded. So that's okay, so basically it was like messing with my input binding type stuff. That said, now I have my camera here. If I were to run the code, okay, I can not move to the left and right. I cannot move back. Okay, I know why is this happening. Okay, I know how to fix this part in my humans. So follow camera, boom. Let me go ahead and look for inputs. There we go. Default. Just so in my inputs section, how do you get this higher? Oops, hold up guys, let me get this a bit higher. There we go. Okay, so in my inputs section, I want to get this lower. Okay, let me just increase this. There we go. So in my inputs section, I got my default mapping context, which in this case is going to be my IMC default, my move input, which is going to be my IA move, and my look input, which is going to be my IA look. Okay, perfect. Then let's go ahead and exit this. Let's go ahead and hit live compile again. I'm going to go with live. Let's go ahead and compile my code. Now, once it's compiled, I should be able to move perfectly. Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and exit this. Let's run the code. Okay, now I can turn towards the left. I cannot look up or down. I can move towards the left, towards the right, forwards, and backwards. Okay, one tiny fix though. In my C++ file, I'm gonna change, let's change that to be y-axis and that to be x-axis. Hit Control S to save the code. Let's open my Unreal Engine here real quick. Okay, hiding Mochi Mochi, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, let's go with something like live. I'm gonna go with something like live and hit enter. And guys, let me know, this Tuesday, should I have like a Blender stream or like gaming stream? I was confused between Blender Wuthering Waves and like Pixel Zero recommended me Geometry Dash, so I was thinking of that as well. But I am like rooting for a Blender type stuff. I will be like posting a community post, so be sure to check that out. It was so funny, it actually was kind of funny. Okay, that's it. Oh, all of a sudden I can look up and down. I can move forward, I can move to the left, I can move towards the back, I can go in front. Now only my pitch works, my yaw does not work, so I gotta fix that. Let's hit escape, let's go all the way up here. Now, why does my pitch work and yaw does not work? I know it's a really silly mistake up here. Okay, movement input. Okay, I fixed it, but now only my pitch works. What's good, bro? Hiding Sprongle, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, why is my pitch not working? I mean, why is my yaw not working? Before, only yaw worked. Movement vector. Should I have two different movement vectors? Look, axis vector, two-dimensional. Uh, okay, maybe let's go ahead and copy that. Okay, let's get Gemini up here. Let's go ahead and paste this. Okay, let's go ahead and Control A, Control C, copy that, get Gemini up here. Okay, let's go with Shift Enter and paste this. Let's go with Shift Enter again and say something like Sensei. Yesterday, only my yaw input was working and not pitch, but today only my pitch input is working, not my yaw input. Huh, I want both to work honestly. We're so close. I can see exactly what happened. Yesterday you had one wire crossed and today you accidentally swapped them while trying to fix it. It's like trying to plug in a USB cable in the dark. Sometimes you flip it the wrong way. Look at your look function in the code you sent me. This is the moment for the stream, the second crosswire diagnostics. In your human.c++, you have this void a human look to error. What's happening? Your left plus right should come from the mouse's x-axis. Pitch up and down should come from the mouse's y-axis. Your code have the y-axis value driving the yaw and x-axis driving the pitch. This is why it feels like your controls are completely backwards. But only one of them works. Both does not work. Okay, let's go out of up here. I mean, even if I fix that, it's like I'm still going to be having the same exact issue here. Let's go with X, let's go with Y. Hit Control S to save the code. Let's go ahead and type something like live, compile. There we go. While it's compiling, am I drinking some water, guys? I think like I'm kind of choking for no reason here. What up, guys? Okay, there we go. Now let's go ahead and exit this. Let's run the code again. Now I can look towards the left. Now only my pitch works. My yaw does not work. I mean, now only my yaw works. My pitch does not work. Why does this happen? Let's hit escape. I fixed that, but now only my yaw works. My pitch does not work. Let's something like. Okay, let's go with something like Sensei. I fixed that, but now only my yaw input works, not my pitch input. Only yaw works, not pitch. Okay, don't let the pitch defeat you. Sensei leans into the live diagnostics at controller pitch input is being called in C++, but the camera isn't moving because one of these things, the spring arm component, uses pawn control rotation. It does. This is the first region pitch stops working. Open your BP_human, click on the camera, boom, spring arm component, top left. The details panel, search pawn control rotation. It must be checked. Okay, check the pitch permission on your topmost components of your blueprints, the self/human component. Search for U control rotation pitch. Make sure it's unchecked. Mapping context negate. Ensure you have a negate modifier on it. Okay, I mean, these are the... Okay, I can tell that whatever Gemini was saying there is kind of wrong because, like, I've done this before. Okay, what's your favorite anime? Because I like Attack on Titan. Let's see. Okay, I did like Solo Leveling a lot. Like, that was one of my favorite animes. But then... there are like so many... there are like so many animes that I love. Like, I love Demon Slayer. I'm really waiting for the second movie trilogy to come out as well. That's sad. Okay, there are like so many animes that I actually like, guys. It's hard to like say them. Okay, that's sad. Let's see. Okay, so I could tell what Gemini was saying was not that correct, but then let's see all the fixes to it. So the first fix that I could add is, let's say for instance, I have a yaw input and pitch input here. What if I go ahead and remove my pitch input because before oh, that might make sense because back when I was working with legacy inputs, I had a look up sys function and a turn sys function. I had two separate functions for my yaw and pitch input. I'm gonna copy this. Let's go ahead and delete this. And now I'm gonna go all the way down here. Let's go to something like mage.c++. Guys, I think I see how to fix this part. Human.c++, there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and type something like move churn. Let's go with move churn. And look functions. Let's go ahead and add a void function called something like maybe look can be for my look up. Excuse me guys, let's go with lookup. Lookup can be for my pitch, and I'm gonna go with something like churn can be for my yaw. That requires a constant parameter of f input action value that requires the memory address of a value variable ending with a semicolon. Now I'm gonna hit Ctrl S to save the code. Let's go all the way up here. I'm gonna change all my regular looks to be look up. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and require a look up sys function here as well. There we go. Gotta make sure those function names are correct. Okay, now once I'm done adding my lookup function, I'm gonna go ahead and create another void function from my humans class. I'm gonna go ahead and get my churn function with a pair of parentheses that requires a constant parameter of, let's say, something like f input. What up guys, my input must be capitalized. There we go. Okay, let's go with f input action value. Let's go with f input action value, which requires the memory address of my value. And then I'm going to go with a pair of curly braces. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a f vector, two-dimensional, which is going to be having a look axis, sys vector, look axis. So I might go with look axis vector. It's like the same thing. Okay, which is going to be equal to my value dot the get function. With a pair of ankle braces, I'm going to go with something like f vector. Okay, two-dimensional. Then I'm going to add a pair of parentheses to invoke my function ending with a semicolon. And then now my churn is going to be yaw, so this is going to be my yaw input. And my look up is going to be my pitch, so I'm going to change that to be something like pitch input. Now I have two separate functions for my two separate methods. I'm gonna go ahead and open my Unreal Engine here. In my Unreal Engine, let's go to something like my IMC defaults. I'm gonna go ahead and create another axis mapping. So I have one for IA look, I have one for IA look. Okay, my IA look has one for mouse's x-axis. IA move has one for W, S, A, and D. So I have one for W, I have one for S, I have one for A and D. Like, is it possible to design a complex code alone in around 3 months? Honestly, it actually depends on how much effort you put in. Like, if you like work for maybe like 8 or 9 hours a day, I think it would be like actually pretty possible because it works every day and all that stuff. But then if you like program less for like 2 hours a day, it might be a bit more challenging to like be done in like 3 months and all that stuff. It depends on what kind of project you're actually working on as well. I haven't like worked on a specific project, so I wouldn't know much. You guys could like fact check me on this. That's it. I have a y input. Now my y input has a negate. Okay, so y is only going to be the y-axis because this is my pitch. And IA look, I might actually add a negate here as well. Okay, this is going to be x-axis. I mean, I might not need a negate here. It's the same thing. Okay, now let's try this. I'm gonna go ahead and type something like live. Let's go with something like live. Hit it something like enter. While I'm actually doing that, I might actually drink some hibiscus tea, guys. Kind of thirsty. Bro, why you stream at night? Honestly, it is like 2 p.m. for me right now. Guys, hibiscus tea is actually kind of sour, but I actually like the taste for some reason. Okay, that's it. Let's go ahead and run the code real quick. So I'm gonna go ahead and run the code. Now, can I... Okay, my pitch still does not work. Actually, my yaw still... Okay, wait. Now, only my pitch works. My yaw does not work. Would it make sense if I like... I'm working with my IA look here, not my IA move. I'm gonna go ahead and check these. I'm gonna go to my content. Let's go to something like input. Inside my input, I'm gonna go to my IA look. Now, inside my IA look, These are my actions. Trigger paused. I'm gonna change my digital to like a 2D vector. Okay, let's go with something like live coding here. So I might go with something like live compile. Could this be it, guys? Okay, let's go ahead and run the code. I can look up, I can look down, but I cannot. Okay, my yaw does not work. Let's go with something like Windows Shift S to take a screenshot. I'm going to take a screenshot of this, and then let's go ahead and get Gemini up here. Okay, let's paste my screenshot. And then let's say something like Sensei, do you think that I need to add some sort of modification to my IA look? I changed the thing to 2D vector from default. TEFAULT. There. Now, before I send this message, TEFAULT. Now, before I send this message, I'm gonna go ahead and open this. I want to check the default. There we go, default boolean. Let's go ahead and get Gemini up here and let's send the message. Let me go ahead and open my chat as well on the left side. Before I open my chat, I want to delete this from here. Let's go ahead and delete that. Hold on, guys. I'm deleting the screen. I'm deleting like the screenshot that I just took. There. Okay, now I see it. We're in the final stretch, and you've done the right thing by setting IA look to 2D axis vector. In your latest screenshot, this gives the mouse lanes to Now let's look back at IMC default. Compared to your code, this is where we find secret weapons. Your pitch playing hide and seek. The final boss, mouse's y-axis, we get the lane error. In your screenshot, you have a negate modifier for mouse and y-axis, but look at the checkbox. XYZ checked. Fix the mouse Y only. You only want Y. I did do that. The Y, the yaw slash pitch logic mage. Even if the editor looks okay, if the code isn't catching the right ball, nothing happens. Make sure your look function matches exactly like this. I mean, it already does, but then it doesn't hurt to like copy and paste this part because I feel like one function would like do the trick here. Let's go ahead and guys, ignore the red underlines. This is just my editor. I'm gonna go ahead and change this back to look. Let's go ahead and delete this. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and hit Control S to save the code. Go all the way down here. Change my look up to just look. Okay, now my look function is correct. Everything here is correct. Let's read the next things. Okay, so the live stream. Okay. And guys, Sensei's Whisper is like one of the cheesiest things. Sensei's knowledge drop. You asked if you need more modifiers for IA look. Dead zone. Not needed for mouse, but great for controllers to stop stick drift. Scalar, you can add this if you want to change sensitivity without changing C++ code. You could set it to 0.5 to slow it down. I see. Okay, now I'm gonna go all the way up here. I'm gonna change this to 2D vector, and then let's go to IA move. Set to 2D vector as well. I'm gonna just set this to a y-axis. This works with my pitch. What if I go ahead and add a modifier for my x-axis as well? Let's go with something like negate. This is only going to be for my x-axis. Would this work? Let's go with something like live compile. Okay, while it compiles, I might drink some hibiscus tea real quick. Okay, there we go. Now let's go ahead and exit this, run the code. Fingers crossed. Left right works. Now only my pitch works. Where is my yaw? Guys, it's actually not only my yaw works. It's either my yaw only works, either my pitch only works. That's it. Hiding FW Killer. I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that's it. Let's get Gemini all the way up here. Okay, let's say something like Sensei. Now only my yaw works. Like it's. Let's go with something like it's like. Either my yaw only works, let's go with only works, or my pitch only works. I want both of them to work. Okay, let's see. I was struggling with this part last stream as well type stuff. That's a listen to me. We're in the finish line to tell the camera boss fight. If you have it where only one works at a time, it usually means your mouse is being treated like a 1D joystick instead of a 2D surface. Look at your latest screenshot, and here's exactly why the human is struggling to look both ways. The yaw versus pitch final diagnostics, the negate crosstalk. In your screenshot, XYZ modifiers probably by checking Y, the fix, IMC defaults, IA look, Y axis, negate, uncheck, X only Y should be checked. I did that. The code order. Check your human.c++ one more time. You accidentally used some variables for both. This is correct. The spring arm permission. The pitch killer. If yaw works, turning but pitch up and down is dead. Spring arm is likely ignoring controller's lookup command. Open BP human. Click camera. Use pawn control rotation. Make sure it's checked. It is checked. My BU pawn control rotation is checked for my spring arm components. It's not checked for my follow camera. My camera boom is the child of my follow camera. Everything here is correct. What could be something that's wrong? If I go to default, let's check. Let's go ahead and just remove my entire kit from here. There we go. I did not need any modifiers here. I'm gonna go ahead and delete a modifier. Let's go with something like live compile. Why can't my pitch work? Why is yaw the only thing that works here? Okay, let's run the code again. My yaw works, but my pitch does not. Okay, what if I went to my project settings, I went to something like input. In my input, I went ahead and added an axis mapping. This axis mapping is gonna be for, let's say, my mouse. It's going to be my mouse's y-axis. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and change this name to something like look up. There. And then I'm going to go all the way down here. Now, for my lookup, I'm going to go ahead and go to my mage's functions. My humans' function. Now, under my humans' function, I'm going to go ahead and create a void function called something like lookup. Okay, I'm gonna change this to something like turn, because this only works with my yaw and not my pitch, which requires a floating point parameter of value ending with a semicolon. Now, I'm gonna hit Ctrl S to save the code, go to my human.c++, so let's scroll all the way down here. This is gonna be my turn. Okay, and then this is gonna be my turn as well. Let's change that to something like turn. There. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and exit this part, scroll all the way up here. Under my turns function, I'm going to create another void function from my humans class called something like lookup. I'm going to go with something like my lookups function with a parentheses that requires a floating point parameter of value. Then I go with the curly braces. Now, inside my lookups function, I'm going to go ahead and add controller. I'm going to go with add controller yaw pitch input. Let's go with pitch input. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. I'm gonna add controller pitch input, which requires a parameter of my value ending with a semicolon. Guys, wasn't this really easy to do? I hope it works though. Let's hit Ctrl S to save the code. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and bind it. I'm gonna go outside my if statement. So view enhanced inputs, maybe go outside that. Okay, let's go ahead and set my player input component. Okay, to be pointing towards, let's go with something like a bind axis. I'm gonna go with bind axis with a parentheses. That requires a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my axis name, which in this case, it's going to be, I forgot. It's going to be my lookup, so I'm going to go with lookup. What object do I want to apply this axis functions on this object? What function do I want to add? The memory address from my humans class, I'm going to go with my lookups function. Then I go ahead and end this with a semicolon. There, that's pretty much it, guys. I'm positive this is going to work. Let's go to my Unreal Engine real quick. After hitting Ctrl S to save the code, let's go ahead and type live compile. I'm going to go with something like live compile. There. Guys, this should work. It should work. Okay, let's wait for it to compile. Okay, let's go ahead and exit this, run the code. I can look up and down, and I can look towards the left and right. The thing that's kind of messing up here is that if I were to go to my IA look, I might not need my IA look at all. Instead, in my project settings, I'm going to go ahead and add another one for, let's say, something like turn. This is going to move depending on where my mouse moves in the y-axis. Let's go with mouse, y-axis. I mean x-axis, my bad, guys. There we go. Now I'm gonna go back to my C++ code. I'm gonna go ahead and remove my look input. I might not need my look input. I might remove my function from here. Let's remove this function. I'm gonna go to my mages header files. So there we go. I'm gonna go to my mages header files, humans header files. I mean, excuse me, guys. And my turn function is going to be requiring a floating point parameter of value. There we go, with a parentheses. Now, inside my turn method, I'm gonna go back to my humans C++ file. I declared my function inside my header files. I'm gonna define it inside my C++ file. So we scroll all the way down, maybe a little up. This is going to be for my move. I'm gonna leave that as it is. I'm gonna go with a void function here. This function is going to be from my humans class. I'm gonna call it something like turn. My turn function requires a floating point parameter of value. And guys, I don't understand why is enhanced inputs much better than legacy. Like this is like legacy this is legacy inputs. Like the function is so tiny, like it's really easy to write this function and I can even remember it. I'm gonna go ahead and add a controller. Fetch input. Actually yaw input. Okay, which requires a parameter of my value ending with a semicolon. And that's about it. I'm gonna go ahead and hit Control S to save the code. Why do I have a red underline here? It's definitely my compiler, right? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and bind it as well. I'm gonna go with something like a player input component, which points towards my bind access with a parentheses that requires that my access name is gonna be turn. Okay, I want to apply that on this object. The function that I want to do is going to be from my humans class. I want to apply my turn function, ending with a semicolon. Let's hit Control S to save the code. Let me go ahead and open my Unreal Engine here again. Let's go with something like live compile. I might go with something like live compile. Okay, while it's compiling, I might drink some hibiscus tea as well. Hold up, guys. Bind access a human turn. Okay, my function name is wrong, I guess. Is it the memory address of my turn? It is the memory address of my turn. Is my function name incorrect? I did not save it. There we go. My bad, guys. I forgot to save my function. Let's go ahead and open this again. Go with something like live compile. There we go. Okay, while it compiles, let me drink some more hibiscus tea. Okay, there we go. Result succeeded. Let's go ahead and exit this. Now, I am positive I can move myself. I can turn towards the left, I can look up, and I can look down. And now, guys, why is advanced input better than, like, my legacy input? I mean, okay, sure, I can, like, move around perfectly and all that stuff, but I guess for rotating, this is something that works nicely. Although, here's a small thing. When I go ahead and add my value here, I want to go ahead and multiply by 0.1f, which is, like, this is gonna have, like, whatchamacallit, so 0.1f. This is sensitivity. Let's go with controllers to save the code. I'm gonna go with live compile. Okay, let's go ahead and run the code real quick. Okay, result succeeded. Let's run the code. There we go. That's really slow here. Okay, I mean, I won't say it's bad. It's so slow. I mean, we can increase the sensitivity, but I think that fixes this. Let's go with Control-A, Control-C, copy that. Guys, I think this is how all the actual coders do it type stuff. Like, let me go ahead and say something like Sensei. I tried something unique. Okay, I used legacy inputs for my turn. My turn works now, but I used enhanced inputs for my key controls, if that made any sense. Exclamation. Guys, I feel like really smart right now because I just did that, but I know that's kind of common. I see what you did there. You tried a hybrid approach by mixing old school legacy input with modern enhanced input. While it's creative and got your turn working, this is actually why your pitch lookup is fighting you. Mixing these two systems is like trying to drive a car with two different steering wheels. They're going to confuse each other. Why your pitch input is brokenly mixed up. When you use player input component bind access, the engine looks for all the input section in your project settings. If you have IA look still active, I see. Your camera boom, BU's point control rotation, constructor is waiting. Okay, it's the enhanced input. Go 100% enhanced. I mean, uh, let me say something like, Sensei, what if I remove my IA underscore look from my project because because when I use enhanced inputs, I can either have yaw or pitch, unless I'm missing something. But when I use hybrid, I can have both movement and churning, both in yaw and pitch. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I don't throw IA look away. Sensei grasps. Look at the stream with wide eyes. We're so close, modern, but I promise you the reason your enhanced input only picks one tiny setting and not a big, the hybrid way feels like it works because legacy input bypass all cool and safety checks. The enhanced input systems will cause input lag and glitches later on. Okay, maybe I watch a few tutorials on this part. Okay, let me say something like, alright, exclamation, I might watch a few tutorials on this topic. In that case, that said, I might end the stream right now as well. So before I do end the stream, is there anything that you want to say to the viewers, question mark? Okay, let's see. Cause guys, I don't want to like watch the tutorials like on stream because that is like going to cause me. I mean, like give me a copyright type stuff. That's it. Since it's eyes open, guys, I feel like Gemini is like way too cheesy when it comes to like talking like ChatGPT / Sensei type stuff. That's it. I might read this later on, guys. Okay, so let me go ahead and go to my main camera. Alright guys, so basically that was pretty much it for the stream. I might watch a few tutorials off stream to actually understand why my yaw and pitch aren't like working together and why only either yaw or only either pitch works. That's it. If you guys did enjoy the stream, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, like, helps my algorithm, share, makes you fun. Subscribing to this, subscribing is like a cherry on top. That's it, guys. I did start multi-streaming on Twitch, Kick, YouTube. I will start multi-streaming on TikTok and Instagram as well. So if you guys do enjoy my content, haven't followed me there, make sure to follow me there. The link is going to be in the description, and also join the Discord server. That's where I usually talk to you guys, give you guys more road map, or have like general conversation with you guys type stuff. The link will be in the description as well. Or you guys can get access to my socials and my Discord server like by typing exclamation Discord on the chat. Guys, I don't know why I'm rushing this. That said, I am going to be like posting a community poll or something, asking you guys what stream should I have on this Tuesday. Should I have either Wuthering Waves, maybe Geometry Dash, Blender, or like maybe something else in general type stuff? Because usually Tuesdays I do like have a completely different stream type stuff. That said, I'll catch you guys in the next live stream or video. Peace.